Consent.
I consented to rape. That's what suffer means. Come on to me, little children that will suffer. It's a biblical term. It means to do by consent. You consented rape. That's the language. And your subconscious knows that language. It's your conscious mind that believes suffer means something else, which is the world of assumptions and presumptions. And when you work these things out, they no longer can flip it for you. They can no longer flip the jurisdiction they want you to believe. I did not suffer. I was raped by that son of a bitch right there. Full stop. And here's the evidence for it. Full stop. There isn't going to be any mitigation. Nothing. And you must close the sentence there and then. If you don't, it's quite important, it turns into what David taught me as being a dangling participle verb. There is no closure. And now I'm going to talk about closure. When you draw up a contract, or when you have anything, it doesn't matter if you're navigating from this point to another, it must have closure. Without that closure, the workings of your conscious mind doesn't translate into your subconscious. It doesn't travel through. It must have closure. If I ask something of you, I must provide you with closure. If you make a statement, you must qualify that statement and put closure to it. So since this is law, this is about drawing up contracts. You write the contract that you want, and to create closure, you add a dictionary to it. Because the word that you say is what it means. And there is no there is no interpretations. If you remove the interpretations from your language, did you just disqualify the need for a judge? Don't really need you. We've qualified what we're talking about. It requires no interpretation, no judgments, no opinions. Judge means I'm an opinionator. If you look up the word opinion, it means judge. It will say a few other things as well. For example, that it's a bank and a banker as well. And we'll get into that later. If you add a dictionary to your contract, a judge cannot get in between you and the other person because you are defining your own words. Does that make sense?
Question. What do you mean by adding dictionary? Can you clarify that, please?
How many words do you want on this page? How many words do you want on it for whatever you want to say?
As minimal as possible.
How many words? Give me how many words?
10.
10 words. Okay, define each one of those 10 words, one meaning, one word. One word, one meaning. Full stop. And then you bind it, international maritime law, and it becomes a document. And it requires no judgment whatsoever. That's how you draw up contracts. Very simple. But you cannot draw contracts because all of your priming is all about how dangerous it is for you to draw up your own contracts. In fact, it's so dangerous, this is how the devil gets you. But if you look at the details of those films that have those type of characters, you will see quite clearly all the devil wants is for you to be correct. That's all he wants. But they will say it's the devil that puts you into contract because they want to rob you of the ability to make contract with yourself. Because if you make contract with yourselves, with each other, you remove the need for judges. Does that make sense? Just give me a second. You guys are okay with that? Okay, so what was your question?
So you know when they give you a contract and it's written in legalese, there's no dictionary attached, is there?
And what's that called if I don't add a dictionary to it? No closure. Under
interpretation.
Under maritime law, and any law, you have to create closure for people. But there is no closure in your world. There's no closure in your religion. There's no closure in the amount of money that you have to pay to the government. There's no closure to anything. And when you do make a closure, which is to exit this planet, there's no closure on that either, because the government comes in and takes their due. What's the word? Their penny. Yeah? There's not any closure in your life. The language that you're writing at the moment and speaking is called art. Articles. A-R-T. And what do we call artistic writing? Poetry. They got you writing your contracts in poetry. And as you know, poetry is open to 1,001 interpretations. And the one that converts into the most amount of money to me, because I'm the judge in this room, is the one that I'm going to choose. And as you know, if you look at judge, it will say look up bank. And then it will say look up banker. And then it will say look up judge. Because a judge is banker. All judges are. All judges are. Okay? Now, when I prepare my documents, I prepare it with closure, and I bind it so it goes straight into admiralty law, and I prepare the documents in the front exactly the same way that a judge does. So he knows that I'm the judge of that document, and there is no interpretation. And I give that document value by simply sticking a postage stamp on it. Once I've done that, I have added value to that piece of paper, which now becomes freight. And since I paid for my freight, it automatically becomes maritime jurisdiction and in federal jurisdiction, because a postage stamp is the currency of the federal system. When you go through borders, especially the Middle East borders, and where they don't have much of a bureaucracy in place, and they still use the old turn wheel stamps and so on and so forth, quite often you'll see your visa entry has a postage stamp on it of that country, and it will always be a value of over £1 of their country. Like if you go to Egypt, they just tear off £1, their £1, Egyptian money is £1, and they stick a stamp on it and autograph a name across it. That means you've paid for your freight, for your fee to travel from one port to another. That's maritime federal jurisdiction. Everybody, every courtroom on this planet is licensed only by one authority. Every embassy on this planet is licensed by one authority. Every courtroom is a vessel sitting in dry dock. What you have to do is find out what territory it is in. If it's in the corporate territory, it's corporate jurisdiction. If it's common law territory, it's common law jurisdiction. And it could be a Chinese court flying a Chinese flag. And then you know you're in the embassy of the Chinese government. And the Chinese government law applies there. If it's a corporate court, then anything goes. Anything. Anything and everything goes. The only thing that matters is that which is what they say it is. Okay? But when you prepare your documents like this, or some of the people that I've prepared documents for, you win. Because you are the judge, the bank, the banker, using maritime operations, safeguarding yourself in federal law. And you win the case. Or it'll be vacated. And if you don't have the language to be able to safely navigate your way through, they'll just keep it dangling as a participle verb. Okay? Full stop. Some of you's had your hands up.
Well, my question was, you mentioned about the contract. So, could you technically, the government have like an inheritance tax? So.
Okay, stop. What have you just told me?
The government have an inheritance tax.
He who makes the statement must provide the evidence. Provide me the evidence that they have such a thing.
They just made it up.
And you took jurisdiction.
So how do you stop them taking the inheritance tax? Can you send them one of these documents?
Yeah. F off.
You're my sore man.
So on that situation, it wasn't meant to be jovial at all. I was actually being very serious. So you guys took me by surprise when you started laughing. I thought I said something that was funny. I didn't realise I just caught on now. Sorry. Sorry.
Have you ever come across proceeds of crime acts?
No.
Confiscation orders?
Yeah. You can send them packing.
Give us a figure what I've got to pay by June 1st.
Okay. Well, we can discuss that later when we've done all this sort of stuff. If you guys can just settle down a little bit. The reason why is I'll be turning 50 very soon, and 50-year-old people can't hear properly, you know. So if you can just settle down a little bit. I aged terribly. So what was the question?
Can we alter existing contracts?
Sorry?
Can we alter, change, rewrite?
Who's the
I was just giving an example, like a telephone contract, for example, for a mobile phone. Can we rewrite, alter using this?
Can you? May I have your permission to answer you indirectly? He's asked me permission. I'm now the judge. Thank you very much. In my system, I have his serial number, and I punch up the serial number, and I can see how much his bond is worth, and whether I can tap into it. Come in. He's just given me jurisdiction. He's asked me a question. He hasn't actually asked me a question. He's asking permission to alter it. Who did you make the contract with? If both of you agree that's what it is, and that's what it is. And yes, you can do. How many of you guys use credit cards? I use credit cards quite often. Yeah, they quite often send me new terms and conditions. Yeah? And if I don't apply to it, the terms and conditions I've agreed to. They're essentially asking you for your permission for the new terms and conditions. If you agree to it, okay, that's fine. It's okay. Yeah? If you don't agree to it, the old agreement stays in place, full stop. You send it off. Because you need two people to agree upon these things. That includes your bank and so on and so forth. They can't change the terms and conditions which you entered into. But luckily, from what Miller's taught me, is you'll be able to break that as well, because you will be able to syntax your documents, something that I'll be doing with the government documents, especially the British Medical Board. I'm looking directly into that camera. Syntax that document and disqualify it under Title 18 of making misleading statements, falsifying statements. And I can do that with almost every single government agencies, governments, corporations, and so on and so forth. So why haven't they vanished? It's because they got all of you believing it is what it is. The pharmaceutical industry, which I'm a massive fan of, sarcastic comment, and I heard no laughter, and this is a very serious comment now, go to great lengths in telling you how pernicious an organization they are. So much so, they would even tell you the definition for our industry, the pharmaceutical industry, means the preparer of poisons. It means the preparer of poisons.
Where can we find that out? Is that in the dictionary you've mentioned?
Now, the reason why I don't give handouts is because Google will provide you everything that you need on there, and since I qualify every statement that I make, you just press it up on there as I speak. Yeah? Because don't take my word for it. I'm a judge, yeah? Don't take my word for it. Where would you find that? The truth is, you just punch it up, the definition of pharmaceutical, and it'll be right in front of your face, like this entire world. But people don't see it. The flags of operation. They're known as flags of operation. They have to go to great lengths to tell you the truth. In fact, they have to go to great lengths, and the last seminar I did, I made a little joke of a guy that was smoking. On that cigarette packet it says, "This will kill you." You know, what more flags of operation do you need? If they go to that extent to tell you the truth, fool me once, fool me twice, fool me third time, keep fooling me until I drop dead, is what you're telling them. Just by the fact that they have told you that is in the common domain, and you can access it and say, "Don't want your poisons, full stop. And if you have any claims over me, who you say is the preparer of poisons, and I am not, you have no claim on me." As long as they can get you to believe they have a claim on you, you will take jurisdiction. But now you know what pharmaceutical means. It means a preparer of poisons. And I must explain to you the lengths of how much they follow the law. Because every preparer of poison must be licensed to prepare the poisons. Pharmaceutical, chemist, preparer of poisons. And to the extent that they go to, they say you have to be a doctor. Doctor is a maritime expression. It's the physician aboard a vessel. And his job is always to add value to that vessel. Anything that takes value outside of that vessel is illegal. And that's what they prosecute you for, because you've taken value from their cargo. But if you initiate a physician, because a doctor is a physician as well, he now is on the land, as it were. And he's there to heal you. But you must initiate it, just as you must initiate the fiduciary system. Yeah, it's called the fiduciary system the judges operate under. That's the disguise that they operate under, that they are fiduciaries offering you a level playing field, telling you everything in their language that is the direct opposite of. Full stop. Am I making sense so far? The thoughts that you think with, the words that you think with, is the only thing that your bodies can live out. You cannot walk forward thinking backwards. You cannot. You cannot walk backwards thinking forward. Try it. Yeah? If I was a person in Australia who was born there and lived there for thousands of years, ancestry-wise, I cannot claim to be an Aborigine, because Aborigine is walking backwards. I cannot do it, because my subconscious will draw me away from the land that I stand on. You're an Aborigine, you're a non-origine. You're saying Aborigine. I must make the statement that I'm an original origine, and I belong in this land. I am this land. I stand on the land. Then you move forward. I cannot say I suffered rape. I cannot say I consented rape, because I didn't. The conscious mind will believe anything that it's told, because it's the one that processes the words. Okay? The reason why so many of you have surface noise, which is the internal rattle, the endless rattle that runs through your mind, is because it's a dangling participle verb with no closure. It's running on poetry, and assumptions and presumptions, where there is no fact. It's all a belief after a belief after a belief. It's all in your religion, it's in your government, it's in everything. It's in everything. And they call that surface noise. Surface noise. When you start to speak with the simplified words that mean one thing, one meaning, you remove 90% of all words in the dictionary that mean nothing. It means no thing, nonsense, nonsense. Yeah? That is crucial. And you'll find that surface noise that haunts you all the time. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if the judge says this? What if I don't pay the council tax? What if I trip if I'm going down the accelerator? What if I run out of money? What if I don't have my daily bread? It never creates closure for you. That's engineered. You will meet people, especially if you guys are going to join ranks, as it were, some of the teams that I work, and most of them don't have surface noise. They won't have it, because I won't work with people like them. Before we break, one more subject. I'm going to go shopping, and when I go shopping, I'm going to get myself a loaf of bread, a pint of butter, a pint of milk, some butter, and a sausage roll. And that's what I'm going to get, full stop. What I will not do, which is called a negative thought, is give you a list of all the things that I'm not going to get. Because you'll come back 10,000 years later and say, Mark, I need some more time to fill that list. And that's the world that they got you in, which is called a negative state of condition. And you are running on that negative state of condition. Thou shalt not do this. Thou shalt not do that. You shall not park in the car. You shall not make contact with each other. You shall not park on double yellow line. You are not in possession of your vehicle. You're not in possession of your own thoughts. You're not in possession of the here and now language. You are experts at everything except anything. When judges, politicians, attorneys, solicitors, they all take an oath. This is how you would tell if they're genuine or not. Their oath is no fact, and no law should be tried in court. Tried means to try. Try. It should never be tried. Hence, Parliament will never speak of a single fact. A courtroom will never allow a fact in. There are no facts in your documents. When you stand there, they say, all rise, which means they're giving life to you as a dead person out of all caps. And then they put you back to sleep, back to the dead. When the Queen gives you a knighthood, she taps you on the shoulder, just as a voodoo witch doctor would do on the gravestone, and say, all rise, sir. And then you're given lands, you're given facts, and you're given slaves, which is known as serf in English language. And there you're allowed to rule. Those are facts. That will never take place in a courtroom. I can have the ability to bring a fact into a court. Once I've done that, the courtroom is nulled. Because when a fact enters, there is no corruption. Also, when you prepare your documents like I prepare my documents, the judge can never play any tricks on you. Never. Because all boxes and all tricks of the courtroom is removed. You cannot play any tricks. If you do, you can prosecute that. I was going to swear, but you can prosecute him or her. There are some people that I've helped out. Do you want to share your story later on? Yeah, that's fine. I didn't know I helped you out in more than one case. This is, can I introduce you? Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Gerald.
Let's stand in and do that. This is, give us your title as well, because you're a dock worker as well, aren't you?
Well,
it's a joke.
my name's Gerald, and I got prosecuted under the 1939 Cancer Act. So basically, we helped about half a dozen or more people who the hospital told that they had cancer, and they possibly would die in 6 weeks or so. One woman in particular, go home and make your will, and you know, that kind of thing, say goodbye to your children. So she came to see me. She's alive now, some 10 years later. She had breast and ovarian cancer, which is pretty nasty. Killed Jake Goody in a few weeks because she went for the poisons route. Actually, funny enough,
Thank you very much, Gerald.
she contacted me. But anyway, this woman is still alive, and she.
But what I'm saying, sorry to cut in, is sin, is crime, is that he took money away from a corporation. So they prosecuted him, the only person in Britain to be prosecuted, am I right? To be prosecuted under 39 Cancer Act. There's no way that's going to happen. I'm helping him out, have that thrown out, and prosecute them. You know? That is that. So... before we go forward, I would like to give some people in this place a 1 minute slot, no more, 1 minute slot as to their experiences, who they are, what they are. If they can come up here and share that. If you don't want to share it, and you don't want to share it with the camera, sorry, I beg your pardon, if you don't want to share it with the camera, just say to us, cut this out of the camera, we'll just chop it up, okay? Or we'll chop it out. Does that make sense? But essentially it's to let people know who you are and how far you've gone through with all of this. Those people that have had success using the things that I'm teaching and I'm doing as well. So we heard from Errol already. Is there anybody else that wants to share? Yes, please. Yeah.
Hi, my name's Ray. I'm part of a group called the Response Group. Some of you may be aware.
Can you speak up a little bit?
Okay, I'm a little bit nervous, Mark. But, what I'd like to say is that we need more people to get involved in the Response Group. Those of you who have heard of the Response Group, what we do is that we assist people that are in the process of being evicted. We will turn up to people's homes and we will stand between the home and the bailiffs. We are, within our group, we've got people that are forensically analysing the paperwork. And what I would do, as a Commonwealth Sheriff, would insist to see the paperwork of a bailiff to ensure that the paperwork is correct. The bailiff's not using the correct instruments to take possession of the property. That means they're committing a criminal act. The other thing that I'm doing is trying to get the police involved, so I'm engaging with the police, and I'm asking the police to assist us to look at the paperwork. But most importantly, what I need is people that are willing to give up a bit of their time to help other people to protect their property.
How would we find you?
I would like people to give me their contact details.
And what about the people behind the camera?
The people. This is for everyone. Do
you want to share your email address with us or your phone number?
My email address is raynw5